Hey, it's Pat here, and I want to talk to you about delegation, fitness business delegation more specifically. See, one of the things that most fitness business owners run into is this desire to grow their business beyond their own shadow. See, they've really created something that's more of being self-employed and not necessarily having a scalable business. So, throughout this video, I'm going to dig into the process that I use to delegate things, to hand things off. See, I've been doing this for over 25 years now in a leadership role where I've had to hand off responsibilities to other people. Tried a lot of things that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't, and I've refined a process that I think is going to really help you delegate the things that you don't necessarily want to have on your plate consistently in your business and elevate to playing your best role. So this is the step-by-step delegation process. The first thing that we need to do is identify what it is that we're going to delegate. Are we going to delegate a project or a process? One is an ongoing thing that we're going to be doing over time, whereas the other one has a defined endpoint. It's just something that we're trying to get somebody to the finish line with. So we want to name it. We want to make it clear what this is. That's step one. We identify the project or process. Step two, we want to describe it. We want to describe it in detail so we can add some clarity. And that sounds really simple, but sometimes we have things wrapped up in our own head. We know what it is, but we've never had to articulate it to somebody else. So describe the process or project, and then we even move into step three, the why behind it. Because if you want somebody to take ownership of something, they need to understand the why. They need to understand why this thing is important. So it's not just another thing on their to-do list. It has meaning. They understand the role it plays in the bigger picture, the goal of the business, how it makes them more successful in their job, and how it makes the business more successful as a whole. So we've got the project or process name, we've got the description of exactly what it is, and then we've got the why behind it, the role that it plays or the importance that it holds in the business. So that's the foundation. That's really the basis of this. This is us knowing basically what we're handing off to somebody else. Now we move into the next phase, and these are the details. And this is where people get bogged down a lot. See, a lot of times people just say, okay, I'm going to hand this off because I don't want it on my plate anymore, but they've not empowered somebody else to be successful. So really, when it comes to the details, and we're going to teach somebody else something, there's a four-step process. The first step is we need to explain what it is we want this person to do. So we're going to tell them what it is, whether it's handing off, doing an assessment or a success session with a prospect, or delivering an entire training session, or maybe even it's something simpler like, okay, I want you to clean the restrooms or take out the trash. We need to explain to them what it is that they're going to be doing. Then step two, we need to demonstrate the project or process. We need to help them understand visually. They need to be able to see it. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people have struggled with. And when they say, hey, I've tried to hand things off in the past, they've not necessarily done a good job of this. They've given somebody something like a checklist. Now, I founded 2 franchise organizations, so I've done franchise operations manual. I know how building those types of operations manuals, it works and it sounds like, hey, this is what we want to do. But frankly, that's not the way that most people learn these days, right? Most people are visual learners. And so what's great is you can demonstrate something on video, either somebody videoing you going through a process or you doing a screen capture if it's something that you're doing online. So we've explained it. Now we've demonstrated what we're doing in a way that somebody can come back and review time and time again. Then the third step is we're going to have them imitate what we did. Really, that's the only reason that we're delegating something, is there's not enough of us to go around. So whatever we're doing is working, at least to a degree. We're just asking somebody to say, hey, do what I did. So we're going to hand off this task, and so we just want them to imitate us. They're going to go ahead and imitate what we did. Now, this gives us the opportunity to correct things, to fine tune, to basically course correct, to make sure that they're actually doing what they saw and not some kind of watered down version of it. And then the fourth step in this kind of here are the details is we're going to ask them to repeat it, right? Repetition is the mother of learning. We want them to repeat it once they've got it down. Once they've learned what they're trying to accomplish, we ask them to repeat that thing over and over. Now, that's how we're going to do things in a process, something that we're going to ask them to do over time. Now, if it's just a project, we just need to be clear about the details of the project, what we're actually trying to accomplish. And so that's where we shift into the next two steps, and that is the timeline. They need to understand, okay, when is this to be done? When are certain milestones going to be accomplished? Giving them a clear understanding of basically what the flow of activity should look like. And then, most importantly, they need to know what success looks like. When somebody says, hey, you know what, I can't get good people, it's not true, right? There are plenty of good people that just aren't set up to succeed. So they need to know what success looks like in their role. Think about most job descriptions that are out there. It's, okay, I'm going to ask you to do A, B, and C, and then other duties as assigned. And that ends up being half the job. Well, who can know what success looks like if other duties as assigned is the catch-all? They don't know what being great at that looks like. So we need to tell them what being great at accomplishing this project looks like, or what being great in executing this process over and over looks like. If we do that, now we've set somebody up to succeed. We've given them a clear understanding of how to take this handoff. And then the final thing that we need to think about when we're delegating is what role do we need to play throughout? Now, is this something that we're just going to hand them off and say, bring it back to me when it's done? Is this something that we're going to potentially say, okay, come back to me for feedback throughout? Or is this something that we're going to say, look, you know what? You're on your own. I'm done with it. This is now your responsibility. And they're not even bringing it back to you to review. Now, the last option is probably not the most common one for you as a small business owner, but it happens. Sometimes we just hand things off and let somebody else take the reins. But if you can follow this process, if you can say, okay, this is the project, this is a description of it, this is why we're doing it, and then you get into the details of the project and ultimately empower somebody to achieve this project successfully. They know what success looks like. They know when they need to have accomplished this by. Now, we've been able to scale our business. We've been able to play our best role and hand off things that may not be the best use of our time. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating as a business owner than to spend 80% of your time doing things that aren't energizing you, they're not fulfilling you, and they're frankly not paying you what your true value is. So if you want to grow, if you want to scale, if you want to improve, follow this delegation process, and you're going to see how easy and how simple it can be to hand things off and move into the role you want to play in your business. I've got something for you. If you click the first link in either the description or the link in the pinned comment, you can get my latest book, The Ideal Business Formula, for free. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button for me. And if you have any questions or comments or video requests, leave me a comment below and I'll respond. And lastly, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm posting videos at least twice a week now, and if you turn on your notification bell, you'll be sure to get them all.